Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and start. There may be a few more people joining us in the next few minutes. Welcome to Scoutbook for your pack. This is an introductory to Scoutbook. We're going to be talking about why you should be using Scoutbook to manage your troop or pack. If you have any questions, please go ahead and send them in the chat, and I will answer them as soon as I can. After the short presentation, we can do some demo of Scoutbook, and we can walk through certain areas that might be of interest to you. So let me know what you're looking for, so I can highlight the areas that we're going to be showing. Does anyone have Scoutbook experience currently?
Yeah, sure.
Some? Okay.
Yeah, we use it too.
Okay. Yes, the session is being recorded and will be available by the council.
Great.
And if you post your email address, I will send you the PowerPoint that I have too. All right, let's get going. So I've been using Scoutbook for a couple of years now. Basically, when Scoutbook first became free, I got my pack onto it. So I went through the entire cycle of setting it up and then connecting the then leaders and other adult leaders to it, to inviting the parents to connect to the Scouts, to promoting a den at the end of the year to the next rank, using the reports to buy all sorts of goodies at the Scout shop to award the kids. So hopefully I can answer your questions and show you the functionality of Scoutbook. So this is the agenda. We're going to talk about why you want to use Scoutbook, learn about the differences between the tools, because there are different versions of Scoutbooks out there. I'm going to point you to a bunch of learning resources so you can get started and where you get help, which is really important because you'll have questions. We're going to do a little demo of the Scoutbook and Den Leader experience if we have time. Okay.
Did I tell you how to do it? Go to the calendar.
So number one reason, Scoutbook is free to you and your unit, which wasn't always the case, but it is as of about over a year ago. The Scoutbook application is designed for adult leaders, which is a little different than some of the other tools, which I'll address later. It does help with improving the communication because it has ways for you to communicate with your parents. There's a calendar section which you can post all kinds of events, and then they have access to that. By design, everyone who joins Scoutbook will give Scoutbook their email. So you'll be able to send emails and reminders to your parents. Also, if you like, you can get their cell phone numbers, and that will allow you to text your parents. one of the things that could happen in a pack is your parents may work with your scouts independently. And so in the past, the parents would have to tell you what they did, and that you may have to write it down or ask them to email you for you to track their advancements. By using Scoutbook, the parents can log their own advancements, so you can then approve them at the end of the month. So that automates part of the advancement process, and it fosters some quick communication there. In the past, you would do things in Scoutbook or some other mechanism, and then you have to transfer the information to Internet Advancement, and that's kind of the official record keeping program. Scoutbook is now integrated with Internet Advancement, so you do not have to go through the extra steps. If you use a third-party application, then you would have to export all the advancements and then import it into Internet Advancement, or worse, you may have to just retype everything. So to save yourself some work, you would want to use Scoutbook and do it once. There is a thing called Scoutbook Mobile App, and you can download that from your favorite app stores. It is made just for the parents to track their own scouts. It is integrated, so the records will flow through the Scoutbook application and the Internet Advancement. But as a unit leader, you will not be able to manage other scouts on this application. You will not be able to see your den or pack. So this is something you can tell your parents to use for their own convenience, but it is not a unit level product. We mentioned a little bit about Internet Advancement. Is the official way to do record keeping. Sometimes it's called Scoutbook Lite. It is mainly used by units that don't have Scoutbook. It does have import capability. It is restricted to the key 3 or someone they delegate to, or the advancement chair. If you're using Scoutbook, we do not recommend you touching Internet Advancement. If you try to use both at the same time, some unexpected problems may occur. You can imagine, doing different things in both programs, and now the records are going to be kind of mixed up. So the real Scoutbook app is a web application. It is for the entire unit. It is for both the parents and the leaders. It does work on your mobile devices like your phones and tablets, but it is really just a web application. So you would go to www.scoutbook.com. It is formatted so that it fits nicely on a mobile phone. That's why that picture illustrates that. And on a tablet or on a computer screen, it just stretches out wider. This slide kind of illustrates what I was talking about with Internet Advancement, the Scoutbook database and the main BSA database will communicate. What is interesting, it is more of a one-way synchronization. So the Scoutbook database will get information from the main BSA database. But most of the changes you make in Scoutbook database will not go back to the official BSA database. So what am I talking about? So let's say you have a new scout. They just registered. The registrar will start typing in information in the Akela database. It is the official record. It has the BSA member ID. It has their address and parents and all this stuff. Within a few hours, it synchronizes to the Scoutbook database. And you may start connecting the parent to the scout. You may start making changes in Scoutbook saying, this parent now has rights to the den. Maybe you're making this person a den leader or assistant den leader. You may do all kinds of things. And you may even see some errors. Maybe someone mistyped their address. So you go in Scoutbook database and you change their address or change some information. That information will not go back to the original database to protect the integrity of the original record. What will go back to the original database is any kind of approved advancements. So when a parent records a completion of an adventure and you as a den leader approves it, and then maybe you award it and purchase it, once that's done, all that stuff will go to the original database, especially like the rank advancements. Internet advancement, as you can see, talks to Scoutbook database, but it's really a different path. Got a little video here for you.
Introducing Scoutbook, a new way to track your Scout's advancement and connect with others in the Scouting community. Created to meet the ever-changing needs of today's Scouts, parents, and leaders, with Scoutbook, you're able to access and track your requirements and achievements anytime, anywhere, and on any device. It's never been easier to track your Scout's progress. Scoutbook was specially designed to give Scouts, parents, and leaders of any age real-time information and the ability to monitor status of progression, accomplishments, and awards all in one place. Scouts can manage and publish progress of requirements for advancements. Merit badge counselors can review and approve work towards a badge. Parents can track status of their Scouts' progress. Scoutbook makes all of this possible. Need to get in contact with others or monitor your busy Scouting calendar? Scoutbook is the perfect place to stay informed and connected with others. Whether it's staying up to date on upcoming outings and meetings with its calendar and event system, or communicating with other parents and leaders through the messaging functionality, Scoutbook is a central hub for staying current with all the latest news and information. Want to share your achievements and activities? Scoutbook allows any user to post and publish their Scouting photos and videos. With its cloud-based software, Scoutbook is always up to date and works great on any device. It's the perfect tool for your Scouting experience.
So Scoutbook is a product that is continually updated and changing and getting better all the time. So you want to consider that in determining whether or not you want to use Scoutbook for your units. It may look good to you now, or it may be less than what you imagine, potentially, depending on your expectations. But it is a product that BSA is supporting and continually updating.
I'm sorry, I got a question, or I guess you want to do it through the chat. Is this a third-party product?
No. Well, let me say that yes and no. Originally, it was a third-party product, and then it was brought in-house, and the original developers started working for BSA to continue to develop the product.
Got it. Thank you.
So the first thing I want to let you know is there is a demo environment, and in this special address, you'll get to go to Scoutbook and try it out and see all the features, and you can see it in different capacity. So a PAX view of Scoutbook is going to look different than a troops view. And if you are a merit badge counselor, you're going to have less rights than everybody else. So depending on your role, you'll see different parts and have different access. But here is a way for you to check everything out. So if you're unsure about Scoutbook, I would strongly advise you to go check it out by using this address. And Once you're there, you click on the login button, and instead of asking you for an account and password, you get to just pick one of these roles and log in as one of them. There is a started video at this YouTube link, and it would walk you through about how to get started. I believe it's about 30 minutes long. It is pretty comprehensive, but that's a great place to start. The National Council has come up with a bunch of video series, and so you can go to the national website, go to this link, and there are all sorts of videos about how to do all kinds of things. And so that's a great resource for you. The Grand Canyon Council came up with a lot of videos way before National did. And so that's another place to check out videos on various topics of how to do things. So as a den leader, you may have specific needs. As a cup master or a committee chair, you may have specific things you want to do. And chances are some of these videos will address some of those particular cases. So up to a month or two ago, you could call member care to get help on the national phone line. That is no longer the case. They are only supporting the councils. So don't call that number anymore. You used to be able to send support emails to National. They no longer do that. So where you do go is help.scoutbook.com. It has a bunch of tons of help articles, videos. It has a discussion area, so you can converse with other users and ask them for help. The official place of where you should get help is also your council. In addition to getting help from the council, there are Facebook groups. There's a Scoutbook tips, tricks, and help Facebook group that you can go to. There's also a scouting volunteer tech support group, which is more of a general group. And in that group, you can ask questions about websites and third-party apps. You can ask about my.scouting's tool. So it's a very general group. There are also Reddit links that you can go to read how people have solved problems or ask questions there. Scoutbook has a blog, so that's more for product announcements and updates, so you can read about new features or recently released features. As I mentioned, you can go to the discussion forum and you can ask questions there and get help. And that's also reachable within the Scoutbook app, as well as going to that link. Each council is supposed to come up with Scoutbook champions. These are your experts. I'm not one of them. I'm not a champion. I don't know who is at this moment or will be. I'm sure they'll announce it when they have one. And then another great place to get help is your local district council. Roundtable. And for example, in Coyote Creek, we have a technology roundtable. So you can go there for help, you can ask questions, and other scouters can help you out if you have questions. There is something called a Scoutbook User Advisory Council. So as you start reading all these help things and discussion, you'll see some of these people who are very knowledgeable belong to the Scoutbook User Advisory Council. They're great in terms of giving information and pointing people to resources. They also give feedback and direction to the developers to help them make the product even better. Lastly, once you started using Scoutbook and become proficient at it, there's something called a feature assistant. It is an add-on for your web browser, mainly for Chrome and Firefox. And this is a third-party developed add-on tool to make Scoutbook even more easier to use. It takes some of the features that have not been implemented in the official product and allows you to do it. The idea is that these features will eventually make it into the product itself, so you don't need an add-on. So if you're interested, you can go to the link, you can read about it and see if any of these particular add-on functions are applicable to your role and if it is useful to you or not. But that's a whole big other topic in itself. So are there any questions right now before we jump on to demos?
Hi, David. This is Wes. I have a question. You know, there on the login, there's two options. One is the main login, and one is the Den Leader Experience login. So I actually played with. So I'm generally satisfied with the main login, but I have issues with the Den Leader Experience, and I've looked at blogs and everything. But the one big issue is that you're not able to delete calendar events, and if you make a mistake or you could hide it, but there's like not a correct way to fix that issue, and I know there's a lot of complaints. So we are currently not using that the Den Leader Experience. Do you know if there's any effort to fix that issue?
So I'm not aware of any effort to fix the issue because the original intent was by design. So what Wes is talking about is a new part of Scoutbook is something called the Den Leader Experience. It's kind of like cartoonish. It's very pretty. It helps new Den leaders walk through the whole year and plan out all their adventures week by week. And it doesn't let you delete the dates and the events because they're all requirements driven. So if you deleted, next Monday's meeting, you're also deleting next Monday's requirements that you're working on. And then if you don't somehow put it back, then you're missing that requirement and missing spending time on it. And so that's kind of the original thought, and that's why they don't let you delete, which is a pain for a lot of people if you didn't set up the calendar correctly in the first place. It does allow you to move things around. Like Wes said, you can hide it. And the way to hide it would be to move that date or event way into the future or way into the past. So it's not within your current view of this year. And so this Den Leader Experience is a product that was in beta until about a month or two ago. So it's very new, and it is what it is. It's a pretty good attempt to help brand new adult leaders who don't know what they're doing plan out a year, and walks them step by step through how to run a Den meeting, and walk them week by week so that they can help the Den leaders easily accomplish the adventures one by one. So for people who don't like how it works, I advise you to just use the current, the original Scoutbook section. For those of you who have brand new adult leaders and you want to try that, go for it, but do it with caution and understand its ups and downs, pros and cons, and maybe do it with your brand new Den leaders so they don't accidentally make some mistakes in that section. So I'm gonna jump over to the Scoutbook demo environment so you can see what it looks like. Can you see Scoutbook on the screen now? Okay, yes. Thank you. So you log in and this is what it looks like. And it has a bunch of links, which you'll mostly ignore. Note help is down here. There are links to the help. There are links to the forums. You're going to want to go to My Dashboard. Okay, so you'll notice the first thing is there is My Accounts. So that will be your profile. It may include your picture after you upload it. It has all your personal information. And then it'll have the units that you're attached to. So you can see this dummy account has 2 units. It has an area allowing you to send messages out to people, create events, and look at reports. Let's jump into this pack. So you'll notice it has the emblem of the type of unit, the council, and the unit number, which is very pretty. It gives you a count, a current count of your scouts and leaders. And this is usually updated and correct as of the last 24 hours or so. If you have a new cub joining your pack, it may take a week or so for the council to input the data, and then takes another day or so for the national database to transfer the information into Scoutbook. So it'll take a little time. But what happens when you have a new scout is that new scout will be unassigned, and that scout will be sitting down here outside of a den. And that's when you have to go in and reassign that scout into a particular den, or create a new den if that scout belongs to a new den. And of course, you can add a new den here. Let's take a look at a den with kids. So on the left, you have the adult leaders that are assigned or have rights to this den. And I want to point you to the second line of each person. So each adult should have 2 rows. One is their actual role, like a Weebo den leader, cup master, committee chair. The second row is their Scoutbook functional role. So there are 2 security levels in Scoutbook. There's the pack admin or the den admin. So pack admin has rights to everything, and the den admins are restricted to the dens they're assigned to. So very simple, den leaders get den admins, cup master, committee chairs, those kinds of people get pack admin privileges. But you do need to assign both, and it is not automatic that a den leader will get den admin. It is not automatic that a cup master or T3 will get pack admin. So you have to assign both rows separately. On the right, you got the scouts. So let's see if there's anything in this first person. There's a question about change of address. If you really have a change of address, that needs to be put into an adult application and submitted to council. Okay, changing it in Scoutbook doesn't do anything. It won't sync up to the national database or notify the council in any way.
Just requirements and advancement, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like rank advancements, stuff like that. So the national database know that this scout is now at a different class. Yeah, anything official needs to be done through the normal channels, through the registrar at the council's office.
Thank you.
So there are a lot to see here, so let's go through it. So you'll notice there's a parent attached to the scout. And of course, it shows the scout's rank and it shows which den the scout belongs to. If there's no parent here, this line will be substituted with add a parent. And then it becomes a link where you can invite a parent to sign into Scoutbook. I have noticed that if a application is filled out completely with parent information, National will transfer this information into Scoutbook and it'll be all filled out for you. But if it's missing for some reason or someone mistyped something, then you have to come in here and link the parents. Now, the other thing you may want to do is link both parents. Sometimes you want both mom and dad or whoever the parents are, guardians. So you may want to set up additional people here, which is entirely possible. It does graphically show what rank they have and showed all their belt loops, which is great. It even showed all the other awards that they have gotten. Let's take a look at profile. So this looks just like this, the adult profiles too. So, information about nicknames and city and addresses. Once again, it does not link to anything else if you change something in here. This is more for your record keeping. Here's the mobile phone area. So if you populate your whole den's mobile phone numbers, then you can text them out of Scoutbook. Swimming classification, health record information, whether they subscribe to Voice Life or not. Again, if you turn this on, it doesn't change anything. They won't automatically get a magazine in the mail, and no one gets charged a few bucks for Voice Life automatically. Local council, if it's wrong, you can change. It doesn't usually populate the district, so you can go in here and assign a district if you like. Birth dates. You can put the school information in here if you like. So regarding time zones, I haven't had to deal with that because, we're generally all in the same geographic area in Pacific. So I'm not sure about that question.
Can you go to calendar in this dummy account and see? I think it's a setting in the calendar.
Okay.
I was going to say, while you're waiting, there's another question here about who gets PAC admin access or how you get that. Do you know the answer to that question?
Yes, the key 3 automatically gets PAC admin privileges to start. So the key 3s are your cut master, committee chair, and charter org rep. So whenever your PAC first start using Scoutbook, these 3 people can come in and do whatever they need to do. They can also assign additional people to have PAC and den admin privileges. So it grows from there.
I can say for my PAC, I would recommend like your advancement chair be given access to be able to see all of the scouts. We sometimes have given our membership person that as well to help with rechartering. So you can assign it out to people.
event calendar.
So when you click on create a new event, I think it allows you to change time settings. But I could be wrong. In my pack, we've stopped using the calendar function because we found some frustrations with it. So it's been a little while since I've used it. Nope, not there.
Yeah, so yeah, the question you've had about changing time zone is so odd, right? Because, you know, our units are gonna, you know, originally be all part of the same council in the same time zone. And so that's probably not something they really thought about.
There's another question about interfacing with Be a Scout, which I can answer. Go ahead. That one I do know a lot about.
Okay. Yeah, so in a way it does. So when someone joins Be a Scout, then that information goes into the national database, and then in about 24 hours, it syncs into Scoutbook. So in a sense, so they are kind of connected. In fact, it is a lot faster to get a scout into Scoutbook by having them register through Be a Scout than through paper.
Okay, yeah, that's great. We are still all paper, old school, and when we're trying to wrap our heads around Be a Scout as well. So that's great. Just get this all digital. That would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Just wanted to show you the pack roster. It is a little slow this morning. Is there a native app version of Scoutbook? There's only an iOS or Android type mobile app, and it's only for parents to work on their own scouts. So it's not the full-blown application. So I guess the answer is no. There's no native version, not like a downloadable application that you can install into Mac or Windows. It is only a web application. So in this roster view, you can see all your adult leaders and also all your scouts and where they're assigned. And you can add leaders here, even unregistered leaders. Again, this doesn't sync back to the national database. So if you like, you know, let's say you have a mom who's very active and helps out a lot and you want to kind of keep her in the loop with communication, you can potentially add that person in here and give that person some rights to manage their den. And that's totally okay. And that person can be in the loop with all the communication, text messages and emails and calendar creation and all that stuff. Okay. I'll show you adding a den. So when you add a den, it allows you to create a den in any of these types. And then it's going to ask you for a name or number, depending on the type. And now I have a lion den 0. now you can start populating adult leaders and kids into this den. Here's how you send messages. You have a list of adult leaders and scouts that you can click or select all. And then you can send an email or send text. You can just write your messages here. You can attach files. You can use BCC. It's just an email program. Pretty simple. Quick entry. So you can click into each specific scout and note all their completions, or you can come into quick entry and select multiple scouts all at once. It's very helpful if the whole den is doing something together, or the whole pack goes on a hike and they're all accomplishing something together. Then you don't have to go one by one into each den, each scout to record the advancements. So here's the rank requirements. Choose which rank. It allows you to pick which version, because requirements do change from time to time. You get to pick a date of when it was completed. You are the adult leader, so you can approve these things. And then you can pick, whichever scout you want that has completed. And it's not the whole thing. So sometimes maybe a requirement asks you to go on a 1 mile hike. Then you just come here and just click off the 1 mile hike. You don't have to wait until the entire adventure is completed. So this also helps you keep track of things as they do bit by bit, especially if your pack doesn't do things like from the beginning of the book to the end in series. So if you're jumping around, hey, we're going to go on a camp out, overnighter. So we're going to do a little bit from this adventure, a little bit from that adventure, a little bit of cooking, a little bit of hiking, a little bit of, noticing the nature. So you can kind of check off a bunch of stuff, and then you'll have a record of that, and then you can just come back and backfill what wasn't done later. So you don't have to do one adventure after another. And when you're done, you just save. Here are the awards. So if a whole bunch of people just got Cyberchip done this weekend, here's another way to quickly get everybody in instead of going one by one. Reports, pack reports. So this demo doesn't have reports, but this is where you usually go to print out your advancement reports. So as you approve completions of adventures, then the kids are now owed belt loops or the rank emblems. And they will start coming onto a purchasing order report. And along with the purchasing order report comes the advancement report. So if your scout has earned rank, you need that advancement report to go to Scout Shop to buy the rank patch. So all those reports are in there. It does have a very simple way for you to keep payments. Basically just dollars and dates. It's not a full accounting system, but it does have a little bit to help you track some payments if you want to use it. You can do notes. How do we remove scouts that have dropped out of the program? So you don't have to do anything. At the end of the year, when you complete your recharter process and the scout has either transferred to another unit or they're not paying for next year in January because they're not on your official roster in the national database, it will sync with Scoutbook, and that adult leader or scout that are no longer part of your unit will drop off. So there's nothing you really have to do. So you can click into connections and see who has access to this record. And it could be the parents, it could be the adult leaders, just anyone. And here you can remove them if they're no longer, you know, if someone was last year's den leader, you can remove them so they don't have access anymore. Or you can add people. So this is where you can add the second parent or grandparent or extra guardians if that's appropriate. No, new scouts will show up in Scoutbook unassigned. They will be the last line below all your dens, and it is up to you guys to assign them to a den. The council and BSA National has no idea about your internal structure. They don't really know how many dens you're operating and who belongs in what kind of den. So it is up to you to assign them. And one particular interesting thing is that most of your professionals don't have access to Scoutbook. So your DEs and all those guys in the office, most of them don't have access because if you look at your connections, they're not one of them. So they can't see your records. They can't see who's the adult leader for what den. They can't see your internal structure.
Is that intentional or just they're just not sort of like given?
I don't really know if it's intentional or not. It may be an oversight. It may just be a security problem or privacy problem. so that you guys can maintain some sort of privacy when you're using this.
Right.
Once again, this is a unit level product. It is for you to use, and it is for you to, have some flexibility in how you track things. And so, it is what it is as of today. And as of today, you have a lot of privacy, and you can have mixed ends, things you're not supposed to do. You can have all kinds of things in there.
Right.
You can track additional information that was not submitted to BSA National, right? You can put in mobile phone numbers that may not have been given to BSA National that they don't have access to.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. Well, anyways, the rest of these are not as important to PACs. Leadership is a lot more applicable to the troops. Same with training, because they don't get like national training opportunities like the troops do, or the crew. So these are less applicable, especially since Scoutbook is taking sweet time. But any last questions before we finish up? Because we're running out of time here.
Hi, David. If you click on the advancement of the individual scout, there's, I guess, there's a couple options. You could do it, as you mentioned, individually, or you could do it all at once. And you could click on approved and awarded, right?
Yes.
Just a comment. I made this mistake. We accidentally pressed awarded, but they haven't received their actual rank advancement yet. So when we did the report, it didn't include that in the report because that was checked. So just to make sure, if you haven't actually purchased the rank badges yet, make sure that's unchecked, or else it won't print on the report.
Yeah, that's a good point. So your advancement chair or whoever buys stuff for your unit should come in here. And one of the reports they should go through is requirements that needs to be approved. So if a parent submitted some completion, a den leader or someone who's from the adult leadership should approve those completion as part of their step. By approving those things can now be eligible to be added on to the purchase order. If a award has been marked awarded, then there's no reason for it to be purchased at that point. That's why it'll fall off the list and not be eligible to be part of the purchase order. So there is a process to that. And so you want to be careful and make sure you approve these completions as a leader. Otherwise, the kid will be missing their award at the PAC meeting. All right, so if you haven't put in your email in the chat, please do so now so I can send you the slide so you have all your support links. And I want to thank you for spending a little time on your Saturday morning with me, and hopefully this has been helpful to you to some degree, and you will explore Scoutbook more on your own and hopefully decide to use it.
Thanks, David.
You're welcome.
So much, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, please enter your email addresses so I can send them to you later today.
Hi, David. Are you still on?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yeah, just a quick question before we move on to the next session. So I'm assuming my scouting.org does not interface with Scoutbook, but kind of does the same thing like Be a Scout. It interfaces with the Kayla backend. So I'm assuming that's the case, right? I was just working through myscouting.org and saw a lot of the same information, which got me to think the two systems were connected. But is that a fair?
Yeah. So the professionals use something called ScoutNet. That's what they use in the office, and that talks to like their main database,
Sure.
and everything is kind of interconnected, right? And there's a certain degree of control, and certain things will sync or not sync, or at different intervals, but they all talk together to some extent.
Yeah.
And yeah, the stuff you see in Member Manager, obviously came from either paper applications or Be a Scouts.
Got it.
Addresses and phone numbers and emails.
Right. So I guess the best thing to do is to, if we're talking about that real fundamental information about Scouters, like age, name, address, all that, just work through the council office in terms of registration and updates. That's really
your main vehicle for changes and addition is the adult leader application. That's what they need to transcribe the information into the system.
Got it. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Welcome.
The information is helpful. Thanks a lot. Great presentation. Super helpful. We're going to adopt this for sure because paper is old school and it's time to move on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Feel free to reach out if you have any more questions. I'll be happy to help.
Great. Thank you.
I was going to say our unit is 100% online, so I can give you a little bit of advice on that as well. So what you're going to need to do is have all of your scouts registering through beascout.org for new families. For current families, there's no registration process. You capture them when you recharter, which is an online process that you'll have information sent from the council that was just sent, I think, last week for recharter.
Right.
For adults, new adult leaders can register at beascout.org, an adult application. If it's someone who is transferring to a new job or adding an additional job, then they need to go ahead and fill out a paper application. And then you submit that through the council. Once that information is processed by the council, or when you submit online, it actually processes very quickly. Then it'll show up synced into Scoutbook where you see those unassigned scouts you can move to a den, or an adult that is in your Scoutbook, you can then move them into different roles. So it's kind of how those sync. So it's like the application is done on beascout.org, and then it shows up in Scoutbook. The my.scouting.org side, it has a single sign-on. So the same sign-on you use for Scoutbook can also be the same sign-on as my.scouting.org. The biggest sync there is when your adult leaders are doing training, specifically youth protection training, YPT, on my.scouting.org. It does sync with Scoutbook. So when you print a YPT or a trained leaders report, it'll sync and show you that trained leader side. But a lot of the tools that you use on my.scouting.org, specifically, obviously upper level like commissioner roundtable type things aren't on Scoutbook, but like at a unit level, if you go look at your roster on my.scouting.org, sometimes it's a little different from the Scoutbook one. Those discrepancies you have to clear up directly with the council.
Okay.
When you go to charter, it's your my.scouting.org managing tools that are used for the official roster. So when you make changes, either through recharter or on my.scouting.org, those will eventually filter into Scoutbook. Conversely, if you make changes on Scoutbook, like for example, if you mark someone's no longer a member of your unit, it doesn't do anything. It just hangs out there until the recharter and eventually they drop off. So some things are synced and other things are one direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so all three of those sites do have overlap with each other, but are used in slightly different ways. Another overlap is that if you want to change your information on the beascout.org website, specifically where your pin drops on the map or what your contact information is for whoever it is that contacts new families, you have to manage that on myscouting.org. So if you go to my.scouting.org and go into your unit, you can edit your pin, you can change your little blurb, you can put your email address, where you meet at, whatever. And currently, if you're meeting on Zoom, I mean, you can put that in there. And then it updates on bscout.org, but there's no way to adjust that on bscout.org. So if you're a committee chair or one of those admin people, you have to manage all 3 sites. And there's certain overlap, but they're not 100% overlapped, if that makes sense. So you're going to direct your leaders to do training on my.scouting, but you can print the report on Scoutbook. You're going to direct people to register on bscout.org, but you'll see the new scouts on Scoutbook. You're going to direct people to change addresses, phone numbers, add additional leadership things on a paper application that goes to the council, and then you'll see it on scoutbook.org. You're going to recharter on my.scouting, but then it'll update to Scoutbook. If you're doing advancement, I suggest you do it entirely through Scoutbook and don't even go look at the Internet Advancement site. It will screw it up if you try to do both websites. So once you're doing Scoutbook, only do advancement through Scoutbook. I think those are the major overlap points.
That's awesome. That's great. So really, if I look at Scoutbook, it's sort of conceptually look at it as the subordinated system to those other 2 systems, I will generally be okay and focus on its tool, its application in terms of advancement and then internal organization. But really, when it comes to individuals, staff, membership, just deal with the other systems for the most part, and of course council. That's great.
Exactly. I would say Scoutbook 90% is tracking advancement, sending out email or text messages, and you can do a calendar function, though it's sometimes wonky. But I would say advancement, calendar, and communication is what Scoutbook is for. Be a Scout is for handling applications and for recruitment advertising. My.scouting is for all of your training. And if you are, I don't know what your role is in your PAC, but if you're like the committee chair or the membership person doing rechartering, or if you're trying to like manage applications or manage the roster, that's what that site's for.
I'm sorry, I'd have all those roles. That would be what my scouting would be perfect for. Is that correct?
Is rechartering and managing your roster is what I would use that for.
Great. Thank you. I'm new to the role and there's a lot to learn, so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great discussion. Sorry, I'm going to have to end this. They're going to need the account for another session. So enjoy your Saturday and the weekend. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.